we will get started. Hello, folks who are joining. Big warm welcome from New York, where I sit. My name is Kat Kwai. I am the innovation lead in the UN Development Coordination Office in New York. And I am joined by a number of entities in this panel on AI for Impact. It's a very exciting time, not only because I also lead an AI lab within my entity, but also, I mean, every UN 2.0 week is super exciting. It's just never felt as needed as it does now, particularly with the pace of acceleration in the field of AI towards, this thing called artificial general intelligence, which is kind of a scary thing. But everybody is now learning to work with this technology in our lives, but also at work. And so this panel is to provide two things. One, some inspiration as to how it's really transforming the way the UN works and achieves its mandates. And the other is how it approaches it, because we are a normative organization, a public organization, and we have particular responsibilities for an ethical and responsible AI in our work. So we are joined by 4 entities that will be sharing their experiences. We're going to start with a bit of inspiration from the UNFCCC team, talking about how they use AI in different ways to simulate negotiations. Then we are going to be followed by the Joint SDG Fund, which is going to be talking about how they use AI to support joint programming. And this is a very interesting area of work for us, especially in development coordination, because we are all about supporting agencies working together for greater impact, but not always the easiest thing to do. So looking forward to that presentation. Then we'll also have a couple of agencies talking about how. As an organization that takes its responsibilities with emerging tech very seriously, we have to think about how our policies might change around this new technology. How do we approach it in a way that is not only sustainable, but is also responsible and ethical and serves the public and the communities that, that we work for. So that is our panel for today. And I will ask every entity and speaker to introduce themselves because we have a lot of speakers in our panel. I'll try to be a good timekeeper and keep everybody to about 8 to 10 minutes. So if you see me waving frantically, it's because you have like less than 2 minutes left and you're being asked to wrap up. Yeah, and with that, I think we're going to be handing over to UNFCCC. Miss Cecilia, I see your camera on, coming to us live from the Oceans Conference. Very exciting. Over to you, Cecilia.
Thank you very much, Kai. It's indeed a great pleasure for me to be joining you from Nice, where we are attending and participating in the UN Oceans Conference. I've tried to find the most quiet spot I could find here in the conference, so please bear with the background noise. Dear colleagues, it's a great pleasure to share our vision on artificial intelligence from the UN Climate Change Secretariat. As custodians of the Paris Agreement, the Climate Convention, and the Kyoto Protocol, the UN Climate Change Secretariat is convening the largest UN climate conference worldwide, which we call the COP. Yearly, we welcome over 50 to 70,000 delegates to address climate change, engage in policymaking, negotiate the way forward, and reach consensus on international climate agreements and decisions. Our statistics reveal a staggering reality. There are over 120 agenda items, typically the average number of items being negotiated at a COP. Just picture this. Negotiations on all these items are running in parallel, adding to an astonishing 900 hours of climate change talks crammed into just 10 days. On one day at a COP, actually, equals almost 4 days in outside world. And the amount of information and action going on in the COPs is intensifying year after year. This is where artificial intelligence presents a transformational opportunity to level the playing field in climate change negotiations, ensuring that all voices are heard. We often think of AI as a tool of science, a tool for business or automation. Today, we are very excited to explore its potential as a tool for climate diplomacy, progressing negotiations and decision-making. In order to provide the maximum support to parties, as well as to civil society in their preparations for COP, the UN Climate Change Secretariat has kicked off innovative data, artificial intelligence, and business intelligence solutions called DABIS, and this is working within a task force within the UNFCC. The DABIS task force analyzes project proposals and creates tools and solutions to be encountered by delegates as well as staff. And it's aimed at accelerating real-time response in session and in information sharing. The purpose of AI in multilateral processes is not to replace negotiator. It's not to replace the negotiator, but rather to enhance their capacity, freeing them from information overload. And this allows negotiators, especially smaller delegations, to shift their focus more towards substantive procedures like building coalitions, advocacy, and shaping ambitious outcomes. So one promising example lies in the development of AI-powered tools that can synthesize, summarize, analyze, and cross-reference vast volumes of reports, negotiation texts, decisions, and historical positions in real time. And this enables us to quickly identify linkages across agenda items, produce draft text and summaries, as well as stay updated on developments in parallel sessions. AI can significantly strengthen institutional memory and continuity across negotiations cycles. And with hundreds of active mandates that we receive every year, and delegates as well as staff often rotating after some sessions, institutional knowledge is frequently lost and is scattered. And therefore for us, AI solutions has been found as helping to bridge these gaps by providing smart retrieval and tracking of mandates and precedents and enabling rapid onboarding of new staff or negotiators. So the integration of AI into UNFCC process marks a pivotal shift in how we conduct climate diplomacy, making it faster, more inclusive, and more informed. AI is helping to democratize the multilateral space. And AI not only strengthens our institutional capacity, but also reinforces the collective ability of parties to deliver on the promise of the Paris Agreement. In conclusion, this gathering provides not only the opportunity to learn from the innovative solutions shared here by colleagues, but also a space to initiate a constructive dialogue on how responsible harnessing AI, maximizing its benefits while also minimizing in risks, supports negotiation processes in a fair, transparent, and inclusive manner. I would now like to give the floor to my colleague, Pau Tarago, who will walk us through the various solutions provided by DABIS, then the DABIS task force within the UNFCC. And I'm really glad to now hand over the floor and to wish you the very best of luck as we go through this session. Pau, you have the floor, and thank you very much for inviting the UNFCC.
Thanks, Cecilia. Yeah, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. I'm Pau. I work as a data scientist at the UNFCCC under the DABIS task force, and I will present some of the work that the Secretary has been doing and we plan to do in the AI space. But before starting to talk about our AI products, first we must understand the foundational role of our data. At the UNFCCC, we categorize data into essentially three types: political, diplomatic, and climate data. And ideally, we would combine all of these data types to find holistic solutions. However, we don't have yet the knowledge to develop a holistic solution that integrates all of them at the same time. For now, we are focusing on specific solutions to tackle specific problems. The idea is to support climate change actors in navigating negotiations more effectively, analyzing all content related to climate change, reviewing every submission from parties and organizations, organizing and tracking mandates more effectively, drafting documentation in line with the UN Style Guide, and ultimately using this data to generate plausible negotiation scenarios. To achieve this, we have started publishing our first conversational agents to help Secretary staff build their own self-service solutions with AI. These internal tools allow the Secretariat a better understanding of the documentation. We also have developed tools that allow the Secretariat to query hundreds of documents with hundreds of questions, tools to detect mandates with decisions and conclusions and assign them to the appropriate teams. And we are also developing AI-based drafting assistants that specialize with the UNFCCC style guide. We are also collaborating with partner institutions to develop a UN semantic search space to be able to create better solutions that are more specialized to the diplomatic space. And lastly, our plan is to, once we've gathered all the necessary data, create a simulation tools to support strategic planning and negotiation forecasting. Some might think we're just putting information into chatbots and using simple prompts, but the reality is we go much further. We know the standard AI models can miss important details because they can only focus on small parts of documents at a time. That's why we prioritize accuracy, completeness, and traceability. We avoid summaries that might leave out key points and make sure nothing important is missed. Every decision made by our tools can be checked and explained, which helps build trust and makes it easier to review the results. In conclusions, here are critical considerations for successfully implementing these AI initiatives. First of all is the institutional support and budget. Without the strong internal champions, clear institutional backing, adequate funding, and dedicated teams, progress is challenging. It's also important to note that missteps can undermine reputation and halt any progress towards making these AI tools. Client and ICT engagement. It's recommended to regularly involve clients and meet their needs directly, rather than assumptions about their requirements, while ICT involvement is essential. Avoid over-engineering palette solutions with overly complex architectures or excessive security early on. It's better to focus on advancing the tools rather than making it the perfect solution from the start. Lastly, connected to what I said in the previous slide, attention is all you need. Generalized AI products rarely deliver as promised. It's better to create specialized products because a single mistake can seriously harm stakeholder confidence. Full transparency into how the system operates is essential. The black box explanation doesn't work in the real world. And lastly, a data strategy and governance. Without robust data, governance, and a clear strategy, AI products will remain isolated, reducing scalability, discoverability, and user-friendliness. That's a summary of our experience working with AIs. If you have any questions, we'll gladly address on the more technical aspects of the AI tools we have developed. Thanks.
Wow, and with exactly 27 seconds to spare, exactly within time. I can't believe it. You must have rehearsed. Wonderful. And I think that this is really great. I never even thought about climate diplomacy in terms of an information space, but that's essentially what it is, right? And the climate diplomats are subject to so much information overload. And as you were saying, really hard to keep track of the institutional knowledge within all of this documentation. So the AI acting here as a kind of spare human sort of memory and compute power, cognitive power, and the ability to help us make sense of what we've come up with in this amazing mechanism to save the planet. So really great points. Another very important one is that it levels the playing field somewhat for small delegations who may not be showing up with as much firepower as the powerful nations and their legal teams. So this is really, really significant investment. Wonderful. On to our next inspiration use case, which will be coming from the Joint SDG Fund. I believe Cal Joffre is online. He is our spare brain and helping us build some really cool prototypes for an AI for joint programming. Cal, is your camera on? I can't see my
I'm here.
view. Okay, wonderful. Over to you.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you so much, Kat. And it's wonderful to hear all of these exciting things that people are working on. For this one, I'm going to do a bit of show and tell, But I want to share a little bit of kind of what we're building and why. And I love this point that Pao made, that these general solutions are not going to deliver. And I think a lot of us have used a ChatGPT or some kind of general solution, and we've been disappointed by the genericness of the response and whether it was actually usable. And so what we have been working on doing with the Joint SDG Fund, and so I work with an organization called Tandemic, which is an innovation lab based in Southeast Asia. We've been working on building specialized intelligence, and we've been working on building it for the UN context. So in addition to or as a layer on top of a general AI model, is to actually customize the behavior so that we can get some of that specialized intelligence and, of course, user supplied context. So in these new tools that we've been working on building and we've put together and using, there is these three layers going in. We've got the user supplied context about a particular country, about what partners, for example, are being used. We've got some customized behavior, and then we've got an underlying general model. Now, three key things about how we're looking to use generative AI here is, one, we're looking to use it generatively. So I think a lot of people kind of talk about, what are the risks of hallucinations and things like that. For us, the point is that we're putting options on the table, right? So we're not actually using it to source facts or try to make factual claims. What we're using it for is to brainstorm and to put more options on the table so that we can have discussions about which options we like the best, what are some of the differences between those options, so on and so forth. Number two is to elevate the conversation. I have seen many cases where we bring a group of people together in a meeting or a team, and just getting the basics down of a theory of change or whatever it is, the team has lost steam. Right? And so what we can do is we can actually fast forward the conversation to say, hey, these are three, theories of change that kind of fit what you're looking at doing. What are the elements that you want to really kind of select to combine or to capture in your final theory of change? And that brings me to the last point, which is we're using this socially. So this is not meant to be something which you sit behind your computer, you get a result, you copy paste it into a document. This is actually meant for group conversations, for workshops. And that's actually the case that we're going to be talking about today, is a workshop case. Now I'm going to share the tool, and then we're going to invite Hugh in to kind of talk a little bit about how it was used and how we've been recently using it. And let me make sure that I can properly share my screen. Okay. I think, is my screen showing up?
Yep.
Okay, we can see it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this is a specialized set of modules, and the specific one that we've been using, and I've just entered some prompts in to get started because I didn't want you folks to have to wait, is a catalytic finance designer. So the Joint SDG Fund, the last round of proposals and work with different countries has been around identifying opportunities for catalytic finance. Now, catalytic finance is something of a bit of a different world for, I think, a lot of people in the UN. It's the finance world. It's working with the private sector. It's thinking about what's in it for all of these different stakeholders. And so what this catalytic finance designer allows you to do is you enter a topic, you give it some context, you can even attach a project document or something like that. It's going to ask you a few questions, right? And I gave it some vague answers. It asked me more questions, but I bypassed that essentially. And what it'll do is it'll put three options on the table for the challenge that you're looking for. What could those sort of catalytic finance interventions look like? And here, what it does is it generates a systems change thesis, an impact pathway, a catalytic finance thesis. So where are you getting that finance from? What kind of finance and why? What's your instrument strategy or rationale? Stakeholders, government stakeholder engagement, market development and demonstration, because that's actually often something that we're trying to do in the catalytic finance spaces. We're trying to develop a market or demonstrating a market, and then risks and safeguards. And it kind of shows, this is how it comes together, right? And so in discussion, you can have, yeah.
Sorry, I think we're just seeing your the intro slide for the UN Design Intelligence. I think you're talking through a actual demo. So if you can reach, yeah, now we see it. Thank you so much.
Okay, there we go. Oh, so it didn't switch. So yeah, so what I was sharing is these are the different components, right? So you've got the systems change thesis, impact pathway, the catalytic finance thesis, the instrument strategy, rationale. So it's really, it's doing this in a very contextual way, and in a way that is relevant to how the UN would work, right? For example, working with local government units as implementation partners, risks and safeguards. And then it shows us how all of this can potentially, come together. What are some of the relationships and the sort of ways that this money flows? But this is one option, right? And then we've got essentially 3 different options that teams can go and have conversations around and say, you know what, I like this option better. I like some components of this option, so on and so forth. Then what we can do is we can say, let's develop a set of scenarios around this, right? Let's see, what could the future look like? For this, we've got a tool that will actually explore different future scenarios using critical uncertainties and framing different kinds of possibilities around this program. So ultimately, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build an ecosystem where other people would be able to plug in, let's say, different apps or different plugins there, where you could say, generate a set of catalytic finance options, develop a set of scenarios, and then maybe run it through a tool to look at, the human rights marker around these options that you just generated that other different agencies could plug into in order to provide design intelligence to people who are working on projects. So Hugh, I'm going to pass things over to you maybe to tell us a little bit about how this has been actually used in practice.
Thank you so much, Cal. Nice to connect, everybody. I'm Hugh Kim. I'm the Reporting and Evaluation Manager at the Joint SDG Fund, and we're super excited to be here. And I only have 2 slides on my end, so we can take it quite quickly, because I think the important and exciting part Cal already shared, which is the tool itself, the AI tool itself. So from our side, as Cal has mentioned, we commissioned and we've used Cal's tool and piloted it out. Due to mainly about 2 challenges that we're facing, because we always have difficulties in timely ideations and designs of joint programs that are at quality, and to ensure the quality from the Fund Secretariat as well as management and governance side to validate whether the integration is there, the system change lens is there, the financing product is feasible as well as financeable as well. And so to ensure all of that, we wanted to test out how an AI tool can accompany the human design process together. And we really found, we tested, and I can show a couple of pictures on a workshop we recently did in Bilbao just in May. But through that experience, what we found was that the tool was really helpful in doing risk management and scenario planning, which is something that humans are not very well in doing in terms of foresights, in terms of different types of scenarios that are there when you're preparing your joint programs. It was extremely helpful for both the agencies, but also from the management side, where we could use this for ideation, but also for quality check purposes on different options that the colleagues could take, or whether there might be options of combining elements together, because AI is super strong in summarizations, in finding connections and all as well. Definitely it's data driven. But also we found that having the chatbot there constantly helping us, that there is a constant learning process going through with the ideation phase as well. And so this is just our first round. We, as mentioned, tested it out during a Bilbao design sprint, which was an intense 3 days of a workshop bringing together the 8 countries and all. So I think we have a very strong proven case, and we're hoping to roll this out in our other funding rounds going forward, as well as looking into other aspects of ensuring and building it up further with the gender markers, the human right markers that we can also introduce, as well as enhancing results frameworks, which AI can actually really help as well. And hopefully by doing the mappings as well as screenings of initial programs in a country, where we can contextualize the joint programs going forward. We do hope to make this a public instrument at a certain point for the UN community through UN Info once it's fully planned out and all. But that's just a teaser for all of you colleagues, if you are joining and working with us at the Joint SDG Fund. But I know that I'm running out of time, so I'll just stop here. But happy to answer any questions or to me or Cal later later in the session as well. Back to you, Kat. Thank you so much.
Wow, big thanks, Cal and Hugh, and with 15 seconds to spare, so pretty good. Um, Lots of stuff there. I think I was encouraging folks to start engaging in the chat with all of this very dense material. But a few things, one thing that Cal said that I really enjoyed was elevate the conversation, right? So I think we're among friends here, but if you ever get locked in a room with a bunch of UN people, you get a lot of UN thinking, group think, right? And so our ability to do anything beyond what we normally do, like in any organization, needs to be challenged. And AI can play a great role in being a creative partner for us. This is something I think it's a little bit undersold, right? Like we talk about hallucinations, for example, as a liability issue. The machine getting too creative with what we've asked it to do. But actually, it could really help us in some cases, right? Where we're trying to do something different. Maybe it could give us some critical feedback. It could use those generative powers in a way to assist us in our own creativity. As we're being asked to do things differently and faster and bigger and accelerate, we're going to need that kind of support. So I really like that point. Versus the more traditional just information retrieval factual support, right? The other thing that I thought was really cool is how it helps us to navigate these really complex worlds that, maybe are not the traditional UN spaces, like catalytic finance. You talk to banks and financiers and a whole other, jargon, vernacular, right? So how do we navigate those networks and see the connections with that work? And I think that tool helped a few of the joint programs try to really map that space. And then third is, I think, this quality check thing. Wouldn't it be great if we could actually, instead of having to read reams and reams of policy and manuals and guidelines, for which we have a lot of in the UN bureaucracy, and actually try to, and actually interact with it more, right? So if we're trying to do whatever the directive is, if we're trying to integrate more gender responsive ideas into our programming, instead of having a manual for it, what if the AI could help us interact with our programming to identify those places that are most in need of a gendered response, right? So all this stuff I think is really fundamentally value adding to the programming process. So really cool. I saw a hand up. We will try to take hands in at the end of the panel. And sorry for taking up so much time between presentations. I just thought that this material is just too rich, too good to pass up commenting on. But without further ado, let's turn it over to the UNESCAP team. We have a few colleagues. Hope they can introduce themselves and share their use case. Over to you.
All right. Can you see my screen already?
Yep.
Is it sharing? All right. So hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning for most of you. Good afternoon for us here. So my name is Rafael. I'm the community manager, manages community of practice on AI as part of ESCAP from the Trade, Investment, Innovation Division. So I would like to share a little bit more on how we seem to tackle similar changes from different perspectives too. So on our journey here on this community-driven AI innovation for impact, right? So first of all, this is what we're doing here is, you can see the slide too, just double check. Yeah, all right. So this community is a community of practice. So a community of practice, right, is not just a project. This is really a group of AI experts, or not only experts, but practitioners who want to learn together and learn by doing, by providing certain concrete measurements and concrete activities to be done together. So this is done with collaboration of the government of Cambodia, in which they needed advice for how to enhance the research and innovation ecosystem of Cambodia for AI. Now, this raises a lot of questions for us, like what is AI in terms of a developing country like Cambodia? That's quite challenging, right? A lot of the discourse we may think about AI, and you need massive data centers, all this computing power. So how to make sense of AI for Cambodia? That was the mission that we set to do it. So in our community, we managed to have a different group of stakeholders, colleagues from the UN and different divisions, policymakers from different ministries of Cambodia, researchers, even student volunteers. And we tried to compute this in a learn by doing approach. So we had a concrete objective. So we have a certain thing that we wanted to study about, the research ecosystem. And we want to make concrete recommendations on how to enhance it. But we also need hands-on experience for do this concretely, because it can be very complicated. I mean, where is this AI? Where is in the cloud? And we try to bring it and contextualize to Cambodia and make it an AI more accessible to show that Cambodia do have the potential to develop AI capabilities. So with that, this is also done as part of the UN Innovation Fellowship they're running in November. Some of you guys might have joined it, to really encourage us to think on how to apply this different UN 2.0 frameworks to our project. So that's some of the reflections that we try to apply it here, right? So of course, it is a project on innovation, right? I mean, how we approach this through digital communities and how we approach to think innovation in a way of the developing country. What makes sense of that? We use, of course, a lot of digital technology, but also on how to adopt this technological frameworks and make sense of that. What sort of data is needed that we need to understand the ecosystem, to map this ecosystem? But then what sort of data is needed to develop these AI models that they want and these AI capabilities, right? And what is a matter of quality and assessment? We also experiment in foresight. We had a foresight exercise to really try to map it out. What is the future of Cambodia if they do adopt AI technology, why others not? Or the other way around. If they just adopt it organically, why the other countries in the region advance much faster? So try to understand that. And we also look to behavioral science. I mean, we have our own branding, our own image. We try to create our own ethical frameworks in a way for colleagues to really feel like this is a community, to really engage, take it more seriously. And this allows to be a practice as well on this UN 2.0 framework. Now, we also apply this from a design thinking approach. That's how we try to make sense of it in terms of our steps, right? So it's one thing you can come and you make an analysis of, okay, what is the, looking at other countries' AI strategies, try to map it out. But we really try to approach, okay, in this context of Cambodia, who are the Cambodia researchers, the policymakers? What are the contexts? What do they need specifically? What do they have access or not, right? Because it's one thing when you talk about what is an AI strategy for a country with a lot of resources and a lot of the capabilities that they want to really be top of the line. But in a country that is starting it now, we need to empathize and make sense of that, right? And then to define a little bit of the program. And our colleagues will tell a little bit more on how we focus a bit, but we, rather than looking at all the different problems we try in this community, which is focused primarily on researchers, well, let's see what are specific problems of the research community in Cambodia. Also, counterparts from the ministry are now doing this R&D management system. And then we start to ideate, create solutions, and practice create a prototype, which I'll show later on how this can be. And the importance of that, of being done entirely in Cambodia. And that's a big differential that we've made. I mean, we really wanted to build the national capabilities on AI. And for that is really to understand this AI is not in the cloud. It needs to be somewhere. Why couldn't it be in a computer in Cambodia? Which computer can run this? Does it has a high power computer? At first we thought it not. But as we started exploring, we discovered, oh, okay, there is here. What sort of data is there? What sort of resources? Yeah. And then we tested and refined it to create a few of the products that we have. It. Colleague is here. And then we test it out, all by learning by doing. So then we can make sense of the recommendations that we're doing it, right? Some of the outcomes of this, the key innovations, insights that we got. First of them, to understand the Cambodian people, one thing that came in mind is like, well, it is a country which is 97% Buddhist. That's the state religion. That's how they think and operate. So what would it mean AI ethics from a Buddhist lens? Well, now is to understand what is this Buddhist lens in terms of understanding compassion and understanding kindness and understand this level that can direct AI intentionality to it. One key insight that we got is that, well, if AI generate actions, who get the karma of these actions of the AI? That's an important question to be asked for a Buddhist country. Now, of course, you know, large language models are shaped by the culture of their languages, right? So if you go for ChatGPT, that would have an English-speaking culture. But that is a problem too. We want to have an AI for Cambodia that has the senses. So those are reflections that need to be made. And then one thing we understand is, well, in their context, AI will not have a consciousness. As such, AI's, the actions, the consequences of the actions of AI comes from the programmers, those the finance, those that guide it to it. And that creates already an AI ethics that it is not too complex to understand in the sense that it is already embedded in the culture. So the culture part is very important, right? We also try to guide it in terms of the spirit of generosity. That's another element. Because differently from other projects, we started with 0 resources. What can we do from scratch? So we have very fortunate group of student volunteers from Cambodian universities, from multiple universities, who generously volunteered their time to learn and practice together. We had the colleagues from the ministry who generously offer us their supercomputer. Now that was something quite amazing for us, but it's a supercomputer which you were able to actually run and practice these models. We have the generosity of the experts from the region who come and teach us in different hubs. So we had like multiple sessions since March to here, around 12 of them, to learn different elements to it. How is AI for youth? How is AI for economic development? Economic opportunities for Cambodia, that makes sense there. How is research and innovation? What sort of labs do you need? Understanding that in Cambodia, they might not have the beginning part of it. How we develop first and how can we look forward? So one of the points that we look is how to make AI innovation more inclusive. So this bases on discovering existing resources, for instance, right? Well, there are things that are already there, they're already possible to be done. Understand that AI is already ubiquitous, like the students are already using it, that everyone, 60% are already adopting different degrees. As such, we need to kind of make sense of that. Understand the local needs and constraints. So right now it is quite challenging for Cambodia if they want to import GPUs for creating for this higher model. So we need to also make sense with the resources that are already there. Understand the importance of open source. That one was critical for us, right? There's a myriad of already available tools that we can just use for free, or to understand what is open source or not. That's also a learn to come from practice, right? Once we learn, okay, this is not exactly open source. And then engage in the resources of the students and the resources of the country who are already there to contribute. This really enabled us to create a certain frugal innovations, making AI a bit more accessible and integrate culture as well to AI in a way that is concretely makes sense for it. And also engage in this community, which is a seed. I mean, there is not a large AI community in Cambodia, but we start to forming it and making the links. And we learned there's much more happening. It's just a matter of mapping, grouping them together. That was part of the work of the insights that we got it. Now, of course, in terms of tangible results, we got already a comprehensive ecosystem mapping. So we start to learning the different colleagues, the different perspectives, the different things around there. We develop our own Buddhist framework ethics that also forms the policy. And this is guiding to realistic strategic formulations. So for instance, to understand where is this AI innovation pipeline? So we have a group of students from universities to now have access to a supercomputer that can now be able to prototype ideas. Could we then connect them to startups' needs? Could we then connect them to procurement policies to secure this kind of services? Could we then connect them to measurements to improve high quality AI can then be searched later on? So we need to understand and make sense of what would be an AI journey for a developing country, Cambodia. Developing country, but a graduating LDC. There's all the angle to be considered. And then building through all these prototypes and the partnerships that we have. So we got good relations, for instance, with AI Singapore, who actually developed a large language model for Southeast Asian languages, fit for the Southeast Asian languages. So, and now we understand how to get this data. So I actually have a little demo here, if I can show. So this is one of the tools that we developed. I mean, this is similar to ChatGPT, it is there, but very importantly, this was done entirely by volunteer students.
Raphael, sorry to interrupt. We don't see anything different on the screen, just the same presentation slide. And also we are out of time. Sorry for that. Sorry to be a downer. Oh boy, and now we have a frozen screen. I hope everything is with the tech is going okay. But Raphael, right now your screen is frozen, I think. Maybe it's just me.
Also frozen here, Kai.
Thank you. Yeah, it looks like you're frozen. Okay. I'm really sorry that we have to move on just to save time for WFP colleagues, but really great presentation. I really liked how you combined the UN 2.0 capabilities in your approach. Could totally relate to the lack of resources in our lab as well. When we started 2 years ago, there were 0 resources, spare resources for this, but a lot relies on staff coming together, which is a great story. And lastly, to say what you're doing is amazing in terms of coordinating all these different stakeholders. I really highly suggest that we somehow put you in touch with the resident coordinator's office there in Cambodia so that we can really bring the UN entities resources into both learning from you and also maybe amplifying some of what you're doing. But good stuff. Maybe now straight on to our WFP colleagues. Over to you. Hila, I think are you
Hi,
going first?
everyone. Can you see my screen? I'm sharing it right now.
Yep.
Perfect.
All good.
Okay, perfect. And Kai, as I can see please time us so we make sure that we have time for a discussion. So hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Hila Cohen, and I'm from the World Food Program Innovation Accelerator. Can you see it in presentation mode?
No, we are actually seeing it in
Okay, so now it should be
user
better,
side.
right?
Now we see it. Perfect.
Oh, perfect. Well, thanks so much. So I'm Hila Cohen. I'm from the World Food Program Innovation Accelerator, and I'm here with my wonderful colleague, Diana Klein from the WFP Global Data Office in our technology division. We're going to give a 10-minute presentation about the work of WFP linked to artificial intelligence. We hope it's useful for you and colleagues, but also for anyone who's outside of the United Nations, and we'll share all the links of what we are talking about at the end of this presentation. We are thrilled to share how WFP is harnessing AI technology and innovation to fulfill our mission to save lives and change lives. Innovation is part of WFP's DNA, and the integration of artificial intelligence into our operation is shaping the future of our humanitarian response. So let's start first with a few words about our global AI strategy, and let me give the floor to Diana. Diana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Hila. So earlier this year, we launched our global AI strategy. It was a milestone that underscored our commitment to leveraging technology to tackle some of WFP's most pressing issues. This strategy provides the roadmap for embedding AI into our operations and into our everyday activities, ensuring that we deliver greater efficiency, accuracy, and impact in everything we do in a responsible manner. Next slide, please. Our journey with AI did not start this year. It actually began earlier with a series of key pilots, testing, and solutions in real-world contexts. A great example is WFP's Analysis, Planning, Performance Division and their Hunger Map Live solution, which gives information real-time about food security at a global scale. Our WFP AI strategy is grounded in 5 different areas, which is building our robust AI infrastructure, very important to establish the governance and ethics and processes that we need to use AI effectively and responsibly, moving towards building an AI culture within our organization, and also ensuring the use of our partnerships to make sure that we can provide advanced, let's say, innovation and also ability to attract talent. At WFP, we take a dual approach to delivering impactful AI solutions, both top down and bottom up. From the top, we're ensuring that we have a strategic direction, governance, and processes as seen in the strategic dimensions. Our leadership has made it clear that AI is not a tool that we use. Instead, it's a mindset that we adopt to rethink how we work as an organization. From the bottom up, we're relying on the ingenuity and creativity of our frontline staff and operations. Through our innovation accelerator networks, frontier and technology teams, we're actively engaging staff working closest to our challenges. These teams are the lifeblood of our AI efforts, bringing forward ideas and insights that inform the technologies we developed. Our next cohort of AI solutions, and maybe if we go to the next slide, embody this approach. Examples are AI for data management, our enterprise deduplication service. It's based on a modern data platform, bringing together data and AI and making sure that we're taking advantage of open source models and building on our ability to train models in the context that we serve in. And it also looks at how we can reuse in the sense that our models for the facial, for biographic, and for biometric deduplication are going to be part of our AI catalog. And the libraries that we use and the models that we use, we want to make sure that they're reusable and available for everyone in WP for transparency. The pilot initiatives are very promising. We've looked at several countries and looked at the results, and we're happy to say that we are seeing a lot of possibilities of cost efficiencies and also effectiveness, where the accuracy is increased quite significantly, and we're seeing increased opportunities for reducing costs. Example, what normally takes us maybe a week to do now is taking us a couple of hours and with less people. So this is an example of how we're using AI for impactful solutions. The next one that we briefly want to touch on is unstructured data and how we're going to use search to help us with our unstructured data and our knowledge management. So we have embarked on a, let's say, a new AI initiative to establish enterprise AI search for all of our data repositories and to be able to elevate our ability to use unstructured data in the work that we do. So this is examples of how our new cohort of AI initiatives are really moving forward towards a scaling context. And we've already built also in place the processes that will support the scaling within our different units and branches and divisions. Now I'm going to turn it over to Hila to give you more information on the WP AI Sandbox.
Thanks so much. So as Diana mentioned, we have different teams working in WFP on AI. It's not only one significant team. Even Diana and I represent 2 enabling teams for AI in WFP. And within the WFP Innovation Accelerator, we actually have a frontier team that looks into the future of technology and sees how it translates into WFP operations, and it covers technologies like AI and blockchain. And the one initiative supported by this team, but also by in the team that Diana works for, an additional team in WFP, we actually created an AI sandbox. This is a safe space to foster responsible and collaborative experimentation and use of AI, focusing on potential use cases that will scale. So there's a lot of demand in WFP to work with AI. I assume that a lot of organizations face that same reality. We just wanted to create a space for the most high potential innovations in AI to have a safe space to test them and then scale them in a collaborative and responsible manner. We'll share more information in the links. We also wanted to give 2 other short examples. Again, we will share the links to these. One is Sky. This is about disaster mapping after natural disasters. This is a solution that we developed together with Google and now is being scaled by DISHA, which is the Data Insights for Social and Humanitarian Action. This is open source, and if this is of interest of you, we will share the links. And this was used in many disaster response areas, including in 2023 in the Turkey-Syria earthquake. And the last use case that we wanted to share is the topic of Scout. WFP is using AI to better plan its logistics. We're an organization that moves tons of food around the world. So actually, if we can leverage AI smartly, we can we are able we were in last year able to save $2 million just with this new platform called Scout. And we forecast that in the next 2 years, we will be able to save $12 million with this platform. So it also shows that efficiencies and AI go hand in hand. So this is the presentation from WFP. We'll share all this information about our work so you can learn more depending on your interest. And thank you for giving us this platform. And we hope you enjoy the rest of UN 2.0 week. Thanks, everyone.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Hila and Diane. And with 30 seconds to spare. So we are, however, not we only have about 9 minutes to wrap up and answer your questions, interact with this audience we're so looking forward to. I see there's already a comment from Andres. Do you want to open your mic? and ask it directly to Hila?
Diana, do you want to address this insight? I think it's a great question for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead.
You're absolutely right. The independent procedure law and regulations are definitely needed. That's why we have in our processes the ability to incorporate a third-party reviewer, almost like an audit, to make sure that our biases and legal and local, let's say, areas of interest are covered in our review before any solution goes into production.
Thanks so much, Diana. We have another question from Nora. Nora, you want to unmic?
Hi, very interesting panel here. It's very, I find it very groundbreaking what I learned today, and I have to say, so my name is Nora Ismail. I'm from Germany. I am the founder, and I have, I'm building currently on a platform, actually, which would match professionals with the internal rebuilding projects of these NGOs. And it's very interesting what I learned today, because I actually have the platform that you're looking for, because based on everything I've seen from the SDG Fund design environment. So basically, my startup is kind of the live infrastructure as an operational platform with your policy of the SDG Fund. That means, so it turns the systematic impact that you want to create, that means the coordination of professionals into a humanitarian deployment. So let's say real-time matching of these professionals to crisis, the live tracking of deployment outcomes, and also the impact will be measured through those SDG indicators. So it's very interesting because I have the platform for it. So you have the AI, I have the engine, and your policy, your SDG policy, all combined, you would create a new infrastructure actually, which would be called, yeah, let's call it systemic response economy. And you would also create a whole new market with it, a humanitarian market. I don't know if this is interesting for you. It should be interesting because I am right now in talks with Munich, with Hamburg, and I've tried to reach out to UN, but it's very hard. So I'm trying to reach out to the UN through panels like this, and then introduce myself. I can send you the platform. It's a prototype, and yeah. So if you want the prototype to be the operational system for your policies, the policies are the SDG fund design, and then your AI, including all of that. I would just need the whole data bank of the professionals and then the whole data bank of the NGOs, including that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nora. Maybe if you just leave your contacts, then everybody can reach out about your platform.
Yeah, I'm leaving
Thank
it
you
in
so
the
much.
comment. Thank you very
Awesome.
much. Bye.
Okay, cool. Very, very cool. All right, over to UNESCAP with your hand up.
Thank you. I would just like to finish showing that and give the last slide because we still have 2 more presenters that I would like to give the word who are important for a project. If that would be okay.
If we could do it in 2 minutes because we have one more hand.
We can do it in 1 minute.
Yeah. Okay.
So you see
awesome.
it now?
Thank you. Yes,
these are
we do.
tools as we tested here with the different contexts, ChatGPT. But more importantly, if I can invite Norak and Boron, give your final words on how has been your experience. Because more than anything, we want to show like real impact from the project. So over to you guys. 1 minute each.
Okay. Hello, I'm Boron from Copai Innovation Lab. In our journey through AI innovation, we've been using design thinking to deeply understand what's missing in Cambodia research and innovation space. So through the interview and observation with the research, with the college researcher and the institution, one challenge stood out. We don't have a clear map who doing what O&E across Cambodia. So we start working on a solution, a knowledge base for the Cambodia O&E ecosystem, a tool that can connect information, people, and project, helping researchers find each other and collaborate. With the support from Misty supercomputer, we've been able to prototype and test this system using on top of open source AI models, even with a limited resource. So this experience proves that with the right support, young Cambodian can do some impactful AI project. So thank you.
Good, very good. Norak.
Hello everyone, my name is Ponre from Copai AI Evaluation Lab. In here we got.
Can I hear you? You sound.
We got the GPU NVIDIA A40. So we have experiment with a lot of model, from small model to large model, including DeepSeek 170 billion parameter. We also do a lot of experiment about like do data cleaning, processing, a lot of stuff. And when we face any challenge, we got the expert support from Mystery, Dr. Singhe, Dr. Sawan, Bojitra, and Rafael also help us connect with international experts through the hub, so we can share their experience about using AI and building all of stuff. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. To conclude, to see that AI is possible for Cambodia as well. So for that.
I was so glad to get your feedback. Thank you for that. That was awesome. I think we have one last hand up. I'm going to give last word to Tala.
Thank you, Kat. Hi, everyone. Apologies, I'm a bit congested, but I wanted to take the opportunity to come in here today. So this is Tala Shammas. I work at the Development Coordination Office along with Kat, and we work closely with Joint SDG Fund. Today, I just wanted to quickly introduce the DCO, or the Development Coordination Office Digital Solutions Lab. I'm the lab manager, and we wanted to give you a glimpse into our lab. So essentially, what we're trying to do in the lab is experiment with the role of AI, automation, and innovation in development coordination. So how can we work more efficiently and strategically, and how can we result in smarter and more insightful processes? Through our AI-driven solutions, one of the things we try to do is aim to save time and reduce complexity. The approach that we take is a problem owner approach. And that means that we create the space and the time and the opportunity for colleagues across DCOHQ, the regional offices, and the country offices as well, to come to us with their pain points. And together, through a user-centered design, we experiment on possible solutions. So one lesson that we learned is through this problem owner approach, we ensure that there is a human in the loop that is well versed on the substantive content and on the manual processes, and they can provide this very important human lens that we need. Another thing is that we're realizing that it's becoming very necessary to ensure that AI is socialized and that colleagues are empowered. But most importantly, we want colleagues to be well informed on how to experiment with AI and how to document their lessons learned, their progress, and their technical details as well. So we are trying to center documentation in the middle of this experimental process. So we launched the AI webinar series in DCO, which is open to the whole RC system, where we present our use cases, we present information around policy, and we introduce new skills, one skill per each webinar. Lastly, results. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Kat. Just one more thing. So lastly, just to say, as a result of these webinars, we are building function-specific packages that entail use cases around, the analytical function or the comms function. So really trying to conceptualize what AI would mean for the day-to-day use of these colleagues. So do reach out to the lab. We have a lot to share, and I will just drop our email in the chat. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Tala. And we do hope in that effort to connect these conversations further. But as we are at time, it's time for us to actually go to the opening of the UN 2.0 week, the high-level opening, so not to be missed. I believe we already popped the link into the chat. Hope to see you over there in a second. Thank you. Signing out. Bye.